big scope was that Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be the one who was going to make Akira live action. It was going to be his company working with a Japanese company, and it was going to be like a mixture of the two, half a Japanese American hybrid of making Akira.
Look,
Now, whether he's doing it now, I don't know.
Look, I know this. Now, Warner Brothers has produced. Warner Brothers Studios has produced a few live action animes. One of which I saw was Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah, that's on the list. That's on the list, Rurouni.
Yeah, they made Rurouni Kenshin. Now I can say that was a pretty good live action adaptation because the anime did not involve like too much magic and it was basically all period piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like feudal Japan and its transference from swords to guns,
Mm-hmm.
its westernization,
Mm-hmm.
and how the samurai fit into the westernized world,
Mm-hmm.
and how the code of the samurai was supposed to work in the westernized world,
Mm-hmm.
which it didn't. Which in the anime showed it didn't have much of a place. Samurais didn't have much of a place in the new world,
Mm-hmm.
where they were using guns, where gunpowder was taking the place of swords of steel.
Mm-hmm.
But like and they did that quite well in the live action version.
Mm-hmm.
They made it very, very good. They made it very easy to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Very meticulously made, and it had action, but it didn't make it like the full point, the full plot of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't make it. They didn't make the action like they didn't put the action in the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
They put it like right there with the rest of the story,
Mm-hmm.
so the action can fit into the story well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was and how they made it was actually quite impressive.
So you would say that Rurouni Kenshin was one of the few, very, very few live anime to live action versions that was actually good. I'm trying to remember was Rurouni Kenshin did the live action movie was it just completely drama like the animated movie, or did it have some comedic moments like the TV series?
It had comedic moments.
It did.
Yeah, it did have comedic moments. Like
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like one I may be interested in looking
The
at.
characters were like memorable.
Mm-hmm.
They even had all the original characters from the anime.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Now, see, that is one of the things that really pisses me off about anime to live action, because I am a big, 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 big thing on. I want my original characters, I want my original storyline, and I want my actors to at least 90% resemble the characters that I fell in love with in the anime. That's one of the reasons why I couldn't get into Black Butler so much, because the guy playing Sebi, I can see why he was hired, because he did have kind of a devilish look on his face, and maybe he had the best devilish look on his face out of all the actors who auditioned.
Mm-hmm.
But he just did not look like Sebi to me. He just did not have Sebi's look. And when you say that Rurouni Kenshin had, the characters from, then that pleases me. I don't like seeing like when I was looking at the live action version of MW earlier today, which was based on Osamu Tezeku's classic manga. There was a female character named Miho was taken out, and she was replaced with some girl named uh, Akio or Akia or something with an A.
Well,
I
see,
forget.
the whole thing.
Don't change around my characters.
Well, see,
don't do that.
The whole thing with Rurouni Kenshin is that the whole story, the plot of the story, was all based around Kenshin traveling from like place to place, doing things.
Which they kept in the movie.
Yes, they kept that in the movie.
Okay.
He had traveled into a new town. There was some girl who had a dojo. There was some guy selling opium who wanted her land.
Right. So it was really like the series, sort of like also on my list here, Nana. The live action of Nana was pretty much close to the series, the animated series, and the movie.
Yeah.
That kind of got panned also, but it was successful enough to make a sequel.
Well, see, I'm just surprised that Rurouni Kenshin, the live action movie, didn't come around to getting around to getting a sequel. But I guess they wanted to keep it the way it is, like and not make a sequel of it because it was already pretty good. They had the characters, even the guy who was I can't remember his name, but he was the guy that he was getting paid to fight you. Like you pay him money, he fights you.
It's been a while.
And he had that big ass fucking sword.
Him! Yeah. You see, that Rurouni Kenshin was one of my favorites back in the day, somewhere around 2003, 2004. The two that I used to love was that and Yu Yu Hakusho, also known as Ghost Files. But then Adult Swim was so ridiculous with the timing. They took it off at one point.
Then they put it back on.
Yeah, when they brought it back, the week they brought it back, I was in the hospital, and I didn't even know it until after I got discharged. And by the time I got home, I just happened to be up one night, and I was like, what the fuck? They brought Rurouni Kenshin back? And I'm a couple weeks behind? Oh, this is bullshit. They put that shit on while I was in the hospital? Why'd you do this to me for? Oh, this sucks. And it's one of those series that has a lot of episodes, at least about 100 episodes. So it's kind of hard to catch up.
Well, that's the thing. They did. That's the thing about the live action version. The live action movie, they didn't try to compress it all.
Really?
They didn't
one of my other favorites. Shit, I forgot what his name was. I know Steve Blum, the guy who was Cowboy Bebop. Spike, the voice of Spike. Yes. I know he was a villain at one point in Rurouni Kenshin. He was the one that had all them burns. He had the bandages all over.
Yeah. No, they didn't have that guy in it because he wasn't integral to the plot for the movie.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Like, the whole thing was, they wanted, Kenshin was going after a guy who sells opium. Who had a bunch of old school samurai working for him because
trying to fuck up what's her name's dojo.
Yeah.
I forgot what her name was.
Yeah, I can't remember her name either.
Yeah,
it was that memorable. But the opium guy who had this big ass fucking plantation in Japan, who was rich, insanely rich, and he had the samurai. The old school samurai, he would feed them and give them money and everything. Because now there was just without a reason to fight, they had they were nomads. They were homeless, basically. Their only skill was just the sword. They couldn't take up military life because they would have used guns, and their code couldn't call for guns.
Well, that was the whole reason for the series. The whole reason for the series was that it was at the end of the Meiji era.
Exactly, and that's how.
Right, and swordsmen were becoming Ronin. They were just becoming masterless masterless
servants.
samurai.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't have anybody. All they could do was just wander and just basically be mercenaries for hire because they were basically a dying breed.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't any more need for the swordsmen.
And that's what they're going at for
Right.
for the movie. Like that's how it opened. It opened with the end of the Meiji period,
Hmm.
with the war happening, and the samurai going up against a bunch of trained dudes with guns, with muskets and shit.
Yeah, and that was a new modern weapon at that particular time. There was more guns than there was swords.
And the only one that survived was Kenshin
Kenshin, right.
because he was the best swordsman of all of them.
Right. He really was, to his heart, he really was a manslayer, but he tried to,
The Batosai.
yeah,
The Batosai.
and the Batosai, and he used his reverse blade sword.
No, that was before he had the reverse blade sword.
Oh, this was before.
They were showing him with the with his actual sword.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, someone else, after he put down the sword, someone else picked it up.
Oh.
And he took on the role of Batosai with his sword. And that was the and that was the plot of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He took on the role of Batosai and became a killer
Mm-hmm.
and just started killing people randomly and was working for whoever he wanted to work for.
Mm.
And that was and in that way he was trying to frame Kenshin because he was trying to get Kenshin. He was trying to pull Kenshin out. He was trying to lure Kenshin out so that he can kill. But since Kenshin has a reverse blade sword,
yeah,
because he gave up killing.
Mm.
This guy was trying to bring
him back into being the killer.
Yeah.
Bring him. Yeah.
And basically by taunting him, by threatening him, by trying to kill, by trying to hold the people that he holds dear hostage.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just part of the plot for the whole movie.
Uh-huh.
He was also working for the opium dealer.
Mm-hmm. One good question going on with the list. Just asking, have you seen any of these others? Wait, Battle Angel Leah. That's not out yet.
Really? They're making a live action version?
Yeah, James Cameron. James Cameron was supposedly in the works of making.
Well, see, that's the thing. James Cameron makes some really good movies. I'm not gonna lie, he makes some really good movies.
But to our knowledge, he's never done an anime to live action movie before.
James Cameron revolutionized movies when he did Terminator 2.
Which who?
Terminator 2.
Yeah. Okay.
He made a whole bunch of desperate, lonely-ass housewives and women with boyfriends that they wanted to torment go see that fucking Titanic movie.
Look.
Oh, yeah, and schools. Many schools across the ghettos.
Look, I'm just going to say this, okay? I love Titanic, but I could have done without the romance, okay? I'm just somebody who has always loved the Titanic story. And I only went to see it because I wanted to see the history. Mm-hmm. And I will say, tech-wise, the way the boat, everything they had on the boat, perfect. Clothing, costumes, perfect. Molly Brown, perfect. And the best part was seeing the boat split in half, which it did, because for the longest time, everyone just thought that the boat just, tilted, went up, and just went straight down into the ocean. It didn't. It broke apart. And they noticed that when it was on the first National Geographic cover, when Robert Ballard, the maritime, the sailor, found it. So yeah, he did all that stuff perfect. So I think knowing that he's so good with detail, maybe he will do Battle Angel Leah very, very good. I just wasn't into